Yeah, you can start, Shireen.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. A warm welcome to a fellow member, our host today, Ravie, our members and our guests. Let me begin with a brief introduction to our group. Without filters.
Shireen, there is an echo. Are you on two devices? There is something
No,
else
I'm only on one.
Just mute your phone, maybe.
Phone is off.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't connected the phone. Even I switch it off.
There is an echo. Yes.
There is an echo.
Okay.
Yeah.
How is it now?
No, it's still there.
Is there any other device close by?
No, I'm on my AirPods unless I get off the AirPods.
I think maybe.
Okay, let me get off the AirPods. Now?
Still there. Still there.
So I don't really know.
Okay. Anyway. Now it's better.
Hello?
Okay, start, Shireen. It's okay. Still, there is an echo.
But the echo is on everyone.
Yeah, the echo is everyone.
Okay,
Oh, that's microphone speaking?
Mute everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Now you can start, Shireen.
You're muted, Shireen. Shireen, you're muted. Okay.
Yeah, unmute. I think it's the earpod. Something is not connected, Shireen.
Yeah, is it okay now? Okay,
Yes.
thanks. Apologies. I'll start again. Hello, everyone. A warm welcome to a fellow member, our host today, Ravie, to our members and our guests. Let me begin with a brief introduction to our group without filters, birthed in the times of online gatherings and physical distancing. Without filters invites and encourages each of us to another way of listening in, by encouraging to appreciate fresh understandings of the shared content, to finding aspects and perspectives we had not seen, fostering and listening, receiving of a shared perspective with no bias or prejudice. The topics of conversation are chosen on the shared interests of our members. Topics include but are not limited to the arts, wellness, well-being, marriage and relationships, family dynamics. Getting through guidelines for the meeting, please set your microphone on mute when you're not speaking, switch off video if stepping away from the meeting, and silence your other mobile devices to ensure that we are not hearing feedback or causing interruptions during the meeting. This evening's presentation is followed by the Q&A session. Ravie is a henna artist for 38 years in the San Francisco Bay Area, specializing in bridal henna. Henna was a hobby she took up as a side hustle to pay for her master's degree in computer science. Even though I worked in the IT industry for almost 20 years, henna remained a passion, a part-time profession, reflects Ravie. My dear friend Mela Daniel, seeing some candles that I had doodled on with henna, set me on the path to create henna candles. So grateful to Mela. It is such a blessing to have her in my life. These are the reflections of Ravie. Ravie spends time every week with holistic natural therapies to help people heal themselves, especially on cases where medicine has given up. She says it's a very rewarding and humbling experience. So I believe I'm going to ask her in for another session on that topic. And I'll leave the floor over to you, Ravie. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shireen. Thank you for having me here. And thank you to all of us, all of you who have joined today. Also, thank you to all the people throughout my life who have helped me, guided me, supported me to be what I am today. I'm just a henna artist, but still, it was a very interesting and satisfying journey. So thank you again. And if I can share my screen, I have a PowerPoint. It may not be very powerful, but maybe I have a point to make. So can we, can I start sharing?
Yeah, you can. You're enabled to share.
Okay. Everyone can see this? Not yet?
We can
Yes,
see the screen.
it,
Yeah.
Are you able to see the whole screen, or are you seeing what I am seeing?
it's what you're seeing.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the presenter view, so I can see all the slides sliding up and down.
That's what
Yeah.
we are seeing.
That's what we are seeing.
Okay, that's not what you should be seeing.
I think either you should put it on slideshow. Yeah.
Okay, better?
No,
No?
your notes and all are visible now.
Yeah.
Clicking each slide, will it help?
No.
Why don't you click play from the start?
Yeah.
Play from start.
Okay, I'll just take out my notes and just play from start.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
All right. And is it cutting off? Because no, you can see the whole screen. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Where do we begin? We'll begin with the humble paisley. So I am a henna artist, as Shireen had already said. I've been doing henna for the last 38 years, a little bit in Bombay, where I was born and brought up, and then the rest in this country. And as little children, you know, we back in those days, we didn't have video games and iPhones. And well, in a whole building, there was only one telephone, and anybody wanted to make a phone call or receive a phone call, that was the house we used to run to. You remember, most of us would remember that. There was no TV, just a radio, maybe a gramophone here and there. We used to go out and play in the compound, and as children. And summertime was always, you know, vacation from school. And most of us had that henna plant in growing in a building or somewhere nearby. So the whole afternoon was spent plucking the leaves and grinding it on that stone and mortar pestle. And then in the evening, we would all sit together and we would sing songs, we would tell stories, we would share you know, our experiences, and we would be painting each other's hands with henna. So that was the start. As I grew up, it was just something that you did every summer. Then one day, a friend of mine who was a henna artist, a professional henna artist, she invited me. She was taking part in a competition, and she said, I need a nice hand, nice looking hand to model for me while, you know, while I'm doing it. So I looked at my hand and I'm like, do you think this will go? And she says, yes, of course. And she took me along. And I sat there watching her. So they're given half an hour to finish a hand from here to here. And you know, growing up, we used to do henna using little broomsticks, you know, break up a little piece of a broomstick, you dip it into the paste and then keep piping it out. And the Rajasthani women, the women from Rajasthan, they were more adept. They used to actually dip the finger in the paste, pick up a string, and then with the string, they would draw it on the hand. Then they would dip the finger again, pick up another string, and then continue doing it. Oh my God, that requires a great skill. Not all of us have it. But we were just limited to there were no toothpicks back then, at least in India. So it was broomsticks. So as I watched my friend at the competition drawing out, piping her hand, she was using a very different tool to do the henna, a cone. Just a simple cone like this. And she was just holding it and, putting pressure and piping out the paste. I watched with fascination as she started. By the time she reached the middle of my palm, she drew a paisley. And I might have seen paisleys here, there, never paid any attention to it. But that day, as I watched her, I was fascinated. I was totally fascinated by the shape. I'm like, what a beautiful shape. Oh my God. And all the other things that she did around, I was mesmerized. And I just wanted to come home and be able to do it. I want to do this. I want to be able to do this. So I went to her and I said, could you teach me how to make a cone? And she did. And I came home and I practiced. But my fascination started with the paisley. Where does the paisley come from? You see this mango here? This is called ambi in the Indian languages, or at least some of the Indian languages. And you see how this delicate curve on one side? This is exactly the shape of a paisley. And the paisley in the Indian languages is called ambi, which is mango. So this shape actually comes from mango. If you go to the internet, they have many different stories on where this paisley shape originated. Some say it came from the flowers of some tree somewhere in Europe or Spain or someplace. I just know the story that was popular in India, that it did come from the mango shape. And when I was a little girl, the young girls in our building, they would always say that if a woman had this mango shape on her cheekbone, like if you go like this and you see the curve of the mango, that girl was considered to be beautiful. So I was always opening up magazines and looking at who was beautiful and who's not based on whether they had the mango curve. And then when I grew up, I realized every woman is beautiful in her own way. And this is not how you judge people. But so this is where, according to the Indian folklore, the paisley shape came about. When the British came in, they loved it, and they took it with them to Europe. And somewhere in Scotland is a village called Paisley. There's actually a village called Paisley, and the women there took this shape that the British had got from India and started printing it or embroidering it on their fabrics, on various things. And it became very, very popular throughout Europe, or throughout the world, actually, we should say, but started from there. And because most of this work was done in that village Paisley, the shape came to be known as Paisley. So that's where the name Paisley comes from. But for us, it will always remain ambi, mango shaped. So this is my journey with henna and also with the paisley. So my father used to frown upon taking up henna as a profession. He didn't like it. And so I would hide from him and practice. I couldn't practice on my hands because then I would get caught. So it was old newspapers, and I would keep practicing on them, or I would practice on other people when he was not looking. And sooner, in some time, people came to know, word sure spreads. And I started getting orders from here and there for bridal henna. Of course, my father didn't know. And I was always afraid that one day I'm about to leave for a bridal appointment and he'll say, oh, stay at home, curfew time, you cannot go anywhere. It was just terrifying, but I continued doing it. So one day this man calls me and says, my daughter's getting married and you have to come. So I was excited. I went there. And then he says, what's your name? I said, Ravie. He says, no, what's your full name? He says, Ravie Kattaura. Oh, are you related to Amrik Kattaura? I said, yes, he's my father. He says, oh yeah, Amrik is my junior. He works for me. I'm like, oh my God, here I am. trying to hide and, how the universe works, here I am totally exposed. So anyway, at the end of it, they were happy with the work. And as I was leaving, I'm like, I just do it. It's not my profession. I just do it for fun and for passion. I don't do it a lot, Uncle. No, I don't want any money for this and all that. So I'm trying to kind of, cover up. And I left without taking any payment. 2 weeks later, Uncle comes home. And he's chatting away, talking to Dad. And I am petrified inside, waiting for when the bomb will burst. But at the end, he hands over an envelope to my father. And he says, your daughter did a really good job and we are very happy. And we kind of asked around and people kept recommending her name. And so we chose her. And we also went around to the beauty parlors, saw the work and all. So that's why we hired her. And my father's looking at me and I'm looking down. And then when Uncle left, Dad opens the envelope. And those days, mediocre artists used to get about, this is 40 years ago, they used to get about 100 to 150 rupees, for a bridal mehndi. There was 250 rupees in the envelope. My father's looking at me like, is this what you guys get paid for doing henna? I'm like, kind of. So he was very happy then. So everything calmed down. Pretty soon I came to the US, and then as Shireen mentioned, new to the country, joined the master's program, a lot of money I didn't have. The money was severely deficient in vitamin M and was wondering, how do I get it? Vitamin M stands for money. And so I started doing henna on the side just to pay for my tuition and college. And that was the start of my part-time profession as a henna artist. And nobody else was doing henna at that time. So I guess people didn't have a choice. They had to get me, There's like one postman in the village or one milkman in the village and everybody knows him. So a lot of people knew me, and somewhere I got connected with Mela. She was working at the Asian Art Museum, and Mela called me in and said, can you do a little henna for me? I'm like, yes, sure. I'm dying to get exposure. And but the paisley always remained with me. I was totally in awe, not only of the shape, but also the cone. It was a new tool. I'd never seen something like this. And it just made creating those designs so much easier. And you'll see over time, I've used the paisley so much. So what is henna? Henna is just a small little shrub. It's about 5 to 7 feet tall. The scientific name is Lawsonia inermis. And many of us don't know that only 1 to 3% of the leaf is actually the pigment that stains the skin. And so when we henna artists, when we buy our henna powder, we look for that percentage. The higher the percentage, the better the staining power. So if it is at 1, you don't want to touch that paste at all. So we're always looking for at least 2.5 to 3%. And usually the manufacturers now have also learned. So they send each batch, they send it to the lab to get the percentage. And then they kind of let us know how good or bad the powder is. And so the pigment is actually contained in the cells of the leaves. So to break the cell membrane, you have to add anything acidic. It could be any number of things, as long as it's acidic. So acid actually breaks the cell membrane walls and the dye gets released. And then once it's released, that's when it has the power to stain the skin. So earlier, we used to just use water to mix the paste, and that never gave as good a stain as adding lemon juice or anything acidic to it. That always gave a better stain. And also, most people don't know that henna is a permanent stain. It's not a temporary tattoo, as most people would like to think. Once it goes on your skin or on your leather couch or fabric, anything organic, it's there to stay for a lifetime. It never ever comes off. The only reason it appears to fade away from our body is because it only stains the top layers of the skin, the epidermal layer, which we are continuously shedding. I mean, we are alive, and so we keep shedding our skin cells. And so in about 7 to 10 days, all of the top layers of skin that actually have the henna stain on them, they're all gone. And the new skin that comes up has no stain at all. So we get the feeling that, oh, the henna is fading away. But it's actually the skin that we are losing. And if you were to collect that skin and look at it, even after 5,000 years, the henna will still be dark maroon on the skin because henna never fades away. We lose our skin. So any activity that is exfoliating in nature should be avoided when you have the henna stain on. If you want a henna to stay longer on your skin, if you're trying to get rid of it, by all means, do your dishes, go for a manicure, whatever, scrub your skin off, and the henna will come off. The henna leaves are, and you can see the picture of the henna leaves right here. They are small little leaves, and we pluck them, dry them, powder them, and then the powder is packaged. So where it's grown, how it's grown, the climate in which it is grown, how it is harvested and packed and stored, all of those things play a role in how good the powder is. So the best henna always comes from certain parts of Rajasthan, not the whole of Rajasthan, but certain parts of Rajasthan, like saffron. Saffron grows in Kashmir and in Spain, but the best saffron will only come from a certain part of Kashmir. And you try to grow it in other parts, yes, it will grow, but it will not have the same impact, right? So similarly, certain parts of Rajasthan, certain parts of Pakistan, some parts of Middle East and all, that's where the best henna is grown. And henna always grows in very arid and very hot climates for a reason. Nature is so intelligent. It knows exactly what to do. I don't know, we take time to learn. Sometimes we never learn. And also henna always gives you just one color, red, shades of red, but it's always red. So when you see black henna, blue henna, purple henna, that's not henna. That's not natural. They usually have added, somebody has a question? I see a raised hand. So. Okay. There's usually chemicals added to the mehndi, and we should really avoid it. Natural henna, natural mehndi. Mehndi is what it's called in India. Henna is what it's called in the rest of the world. It's the same thing. It's always one color. And many of the chemicals that are added to the mehndi, to the cones that are outside that are not red in color, they may be harmful to the body. So we should best avoid them. And how do you mix the mehndi? And also henna is good. Henna powder should always be bright green in color, as you can see right here in this picture, in the second picture in the middle. If it is dull, if it is brownish, greenish, then you know that this is stale mehndi and it will not have a staining power, sorry. So you take henna powder, and as I've mentioned, you mix it with anything that's acidic. It could be lemon juice, tea water, apple juice, or just citric acid. Avoid lime. Some people seem to have an allergic reaction to lime. So we generally, most henna artists who are aware of all of this, we avoid using lime juice. It's always lemon juice. And then we add pure essential oils, not any essential oil. There's only a certain essential oils that will do the trick. It depends on what kind of terps they have. Cajeput, lavender, tea tree, eucalyptus, these are safe ones. They are good ones. You could use one or a combination of these. And so you take your powder, you mix it with lemon juice, you add sugar to it. Sugar makes the paste very creamy and very smooth, so it's easy to pipe out. And when it's drying, it doesn't break. And the recipe is right here. 100 grams of henna powder. You add about 3 to 3.5 tablespoons of sugar to it, 2 tablespoons of essential oils, and enough lemon juice. So we just mix it in lemon juice. That's how I do it. I don't use any water. to make a paste that's the consistency of toothpaste. Sugar, I just want to mention that if you live in a very humid climate, then if you add a lot of sugar, the paste will tend to run. So then you have to adjust the amount of sugar based on where you're living. So you soak this paste for 24 hours. This is the recipe. 24 hours for at 23 degrees centigrade or about 72, 73 degrees Fahrenheit. And then the paste is ready. How do you know the paste is ready? The top layer of the paste will turn brown. And if you take a spoon, dip it in and scrape, underneath, it will still be this colored, fresh green, lime green color. And so you know that, okay, the top has oxidized enough and the dye has released. So now the paste is ready to use. And then you put it in cones and then enjoy being a henna artist. You don't have to be a professional. It's just fun. How do you make a cone? It's just a rectangular, or some people use a triangular piece of plastic. This is something you can use for flower wrapping. And you just roll it like so. And roll it and roll it and roll it. And that's it. And then you just tape it up. And then the finished product looks like this. And then when you fill it with the paste, it will look like this. It's a very sophisticated tool, as you guys can see. And some people like to close the hole when they're making the cone, and then they cut it according to their needs, and then they start piping it out. I like to make my cones with the hole already made. So when I'm rolling it, I make sure I leave the hole there. And that's it. It's a very simple process. You leave the paste on for about 4 to 5 hours, and then you scrape it off, or you can leave it overnight, but no water for the next 10 to 12 hours. So until next morning, that's what I say. And the stain develops in about 2 to 3 days, so approximately 48 hours after you scrape it off. And different parts of the body will stain differently. So the best color is always the palm of the hands and the soles of the feet. The second best color is the back of the hands and top of the feet. And then as you wear off onto other parts of the body, the color is never as intense or as dark. Also, different parts of the body darken at different times. So the palms will be, if you get your henna done today, by tomorrow, the palms will be pretty dark red, but the back and the legs and the arms, they will remain very, very light then all of the next day. The third day, they will suddenly start to darken up. So it is a process. And we just have to be patient. And that's one of the things they say henna teaches you, patience. Oh. So here are some very small designs. This one, for example, is just a very simple one, checkers in the middle, and then just some swirls and leaves around it. I have a board that I use all the time. This board, I started with just 9 designs. It's grown to 25. And for the last 30 years, that's all I have used for all my parties and all my festivals. And I'm still there. People still call me, so I guess it works. And then I tell other artists also, may take a photo of my board, and if I can make money out of it and you can make money out of it, we are all good. And then this small little design, it takes about 2 minutes to make this. You can add little things around that central motive, and suddenly you have a strip design. The strip designs are very, very popular at parties and also at festivals. These are quick, easy designs. And I like to do designs like this because it doesn't look very flimsy. You know, you have some meat there. At the same time, it's not taking a very long time. It takes about 4 minutes to do this, 2 minutes to do this, and about 4 minutes to do this, give or take a few seconds. And this is how the same design looks on a hand. And same strip designs, you don't really have to do it on your hands. Here's an example on the leg. And you can see how I've used so much paisleys. I love paisleys. And here's a paisley as a center motif, the focal point, with smaller paisleys trailing up and down. So these are all party designs. And from here, we move on to, here's an example of a party design. This is a time-lapse video, just to quickly show how the strip design is constructed. So I'm just going to play it. And there you go. And I teach this trick to all of the Mehndi artists. I'm like saying, this is easy to do. Just take a board like this, let people choose whatever design they want. And then all you have to do is add something, small little vines or trailing up and down, and you're done. It doesn't take very long, but people love it. And here's another example of a strip design, but sometimes people say, I want a fuller hand. I want something more than just a strip. I'm like, sure, we'll have a design for you. And this is what I do. Oh, there's music too. So here's my favorite paisley. And when you just add some fingers to this strip design, the hand looks so much fuller without taking a lot of time. So now you can add, you can ask a lot more money for that design. Just spend a little more. Here I am giving you away all my secrets. Okay. And Shireen had asked, can you do this in real time? None of my friends wanted to get up early in the morning, and then it was just logistics. Where do you get the camera and this and that? So I just recorded the same thing in real time. And so this is the design we are going to do, and you can see how it comes up. It just takes about 4 minutes to do the whole design.
This is not a time lapse, by the way.
No. And the little shading. And here comes the paisleys. So that's your party design. And if there's just some slag in the line and people I sometimes will add some little extra and tell the person, I'm just doing something special for you, and they feel special. So little tricks to make people happy and get future clients.
They're right there.
There you go. And these are the more elaborate bridal designs. Again, you see how my fascination with the paisley, you'll always have paisleys in my design. And so there are some brides usually get hands all the way up to the middle of the arm or almost up to the elbows. On the feet, most brides will reach up to the ankles, but sometimes they want to go all the way up to the knees. And most of them will just stick with the traditional designs, but every once in a while, you'll have a bride who want to customize a design. The design on the right, for example, the bride is Punjabi, North Indian, and the groom came from Gujarat, so it's western part of India, for those who don't know. So the bride said, I want to dress up as a Gujarati. So we showed her as doing the Dandiya Ras, which is essentially a Gujarati folk dance. And the groom was Gujarati, but he was portrayed as a North Indian doing Bhangra. So that was a special request from the bride. And here in the picture on the right, the bride had asked for swans because swans symbolize everlasting love. True love, everlasting love forever. And so that is what was meaningful to her. We did that. And then she's from San Francisco, so she wanted the Golden Gate Bridge. And I don't know what building this is. She gave me a picture and said, could you make this building, this structure? Because the boy, somehow it was connected to the boy. And so that's what you see here. And then she wanted the groom and the girl and the groom somewhere in the design. I'm like, how do you put it there? So anyway, if you look closely, there's a silhouette of a little boy waiting by the doorway for his bride. And on the flip side, you have the Golden Gate Bridge, and there's a little silhouette of a girl reaching up to the bridge to cross over to his side. So little things, that make the design so much more symbolic and meaningful to the bride. And so this is something new that people have started doing. Or they might have, I had this pet dog who was very close to me, passed away. Could you make a picture of my dog on the design? So somewhere here we'll incorporate that. The design on the left, this was very interesting. This bride, Indian bride, and she married. Unfortunately, I don't have the final picture of it. It's just the sketch I had. I just have the sketch I made for her. So she comes and says, I don't like traditional henna designs, nothing from there. And I'm marrying a Mexican. And so I want his culture represented in the design. So she wanted a shark, a huge, big shark dominating the design. She wanted chili, red chili pepper, an ice cream cone, a croissant, and this shape that you see on her index finger. This has some special meaning. And so she wanted this shape and lots of ocean waves, but nothing henna, no paisleys, no this, no that. I guess this is the only design that doesn't have any paisleys in my life. And then she showed me her wedding dress. So she says, I want you to take something from my wedding dress and incorporate it into the design. So this part that you see, the top part on the arm, this totally came from a motif on her wedding dress. And then you see the ocean waves here, and even these swirls, they are more representative of the waves. I was very apprehensive. I'm like, how? And she's a graphic designer from Paris. This is scary. It's so scary it's so difficult to, draw something for somebody like that, given her background, because I'm not really an artist. I just do henna. But anyway, I put this together. She loved it, and I was relieved. And And I got into henna because of the paisley, for example, for the most part, and also the very ethnic Indian designs. And I love doing that. So when somebody comes and tells me, can you make a turtle? Can you make a cat or a dog? I'm really not fond of doing those, you know. That's where you go to a tattoo shop and get a tattoo done. But every once in a while, I'll find a client who'll ask for something totally different, out of my comfort zone, actually. So this group of people, they go to the Burning Man festival every year. And their theme for the Burning Man is dragons. And so every year they have me come and we do tattoos on them. And we don't even use henna. This is jacqua. Jacqua also comes from a plant. It comes from the berries of a plant. And like henna, it only stains the skin for about 7 to 10 days. And then as the skin exfoliates, it disappears from the body. But it looks like the real tattoo. So henna is red in color. This is actually bluish black in color. And so they have all these, and this is his wife, and she gets her dragon on the side. And every year I tell them, please do not recommend me to anybody because I'm not very fond of doing this. You're the only people I do it from. And in fact, next week I have an appointment with them again. They're going back to Burning Man. So today you learned about henna and also that there is something called jacqua that you could use. And so why do we do henna? We do henna on all kinds of occasions, but especially for weddings. And humans have this need to always attach meanings to anything that we do or anything that we have. We always find some or the other way of giving it some meaning, you know, just don't leave it alone, kind of. And so over the centuries, people started equating it to, it's a symbol of fertility or auspiciousness. Oh, if you do henna at marriages, then it'll give you good luck and prosperity. And then some cultures, they will actually have symbols that they do with henna on their hand, believing that this will ward off the evil eye. And for some others, there is a spiritual connection with doing the handi. What actually it is, it cools the body down. So thousands of years ago, mankind discovered that, and this plant only grows in, as I'd mentioned, in very hot climates. So as they crushed the leaves of this particular plant, it gave a very cooling effect to the body. And that's what henna does. When you put the paste on, it starts drawing the heat from your body and it uses the heat to start oxidizing. And as it oxidizes, the color changes from orange to red. So the warmer your hands are, the better the oxidation and darker the color. That's why people with warm hands always get a better color than people with cold hands. And that was a great thing to have, that, oh, we make a paste of these leaves and we slather it on our body and it cools you down. So this nature intended mehndi to be grown in really hot climates because people could use it to cool down their body. But then they discovered that it had a side effect. It stained the body wherever they put it on. But back in those days, centuries ago, it was a great side effect to have because now they could not only use it to cool down the body, but they could also use it as body decoration. And women, when they have nothing better to do, they start getting very creative. So instead of just slathering it on, they started making patterns. Now, those patterns were different. African patterns were different than designs from the Middle East, different from designs from the South Asia. South Asian designs tend to be very intricate, lace-like, filigree kind of patterns, very densely put together. In the Middle East, you have big, bold, thick lines, but they're mostly flowers and leaves. They never use animals or humans in their designs. In Africa, you have thick, bold lines, but now they're all geometrical. They don't mostly have, most of the designs are geometrical. So depending on what your culture is and which region of the world you came from, the designs were different, but the essential part of why we got the henna done was the same. And henna also has antimicrobial properties. And we heard that some doctors, when some people have some kind of skin infection, they tell them to go and put henna on because henna actually kind of controls the population of the microbes as long as you have it on your body. So it is antiviral, antibacterial properties. It's a natural organic body decoration. So you don't really, it's very safe for anybody to use it as long as we're not adding any kind of chemicals to it. And the fragrance of the mehndi. So when the paste is mixed, it has a very different kind of fragrance, very soothing kind of fragrance. But once you put it on and you scrape it off, then the red stain that's on your skin has a very different kind of fragrance, a very earthy kind of fragrance. So henna, the fragrance of the henna changes over time. And so in my journey, I met so many different people, all kinds of, all areas of life. And it was so many interesting stories, so many anecdotes. I treasure each one of them. Most of the experiences were really, really good. And one of my friends arranges for henna conferences here in the Bay Area. So one of those days, one of those times, she asked me to come and teach henna. I mean, I doodle with henna, but people tend to think I'm kind of an expert, which I'm not. But she just said, no, you have to come and teach at the class. And I was petrified. I'd never taught henna. I'd never thought about it in terms of, people, like I said, people attach meanings and this and that to anything and everything that they do. I'd never really thought about all of that. I just loved doing it and I would doodle. People liked it enough that they would keep calling me and I was grateful to them. But here I am being forced to teach a class. So I said, okay, what do you want me to teach? What topic? And she says, fundamentals of design. I'm like, oh, great. Okay. I'd never taken an art class in my life. I'd never even opened a book on art ever in my life. I had no idea. So I went to the library and picked up all the books I could get. And as I opened the books and started going through it, I realized that almost every book talked about just two areas. There's elements of design and there are principles of design. As you can see, elements of design, there's line, form, shape, space, texture, color, etc. And then principles of design, scale, proportion, unity, balance, harmony, depth. And these names vary from book to book, but by and large, this is what you get. Some books may have a few more added or few more deleted or something. And as I kept looking at this, I said, how do I relate this to henna, and how to create henna designs? And the more I looked at it, the more I realized that I need to reorganize this. And am I even allowed to reorganize this? I'm like, hey, it's my class. I can do whatever I want. So I changed this a little bit to make it more meaningful. And I said, fundamentals of design really have these elements, which is line, form, shape, space, and color. These are the tools that we use. And methods, texture, repetition, scale, direction, contrast, these are the methods, how we use these tools, these elements to get this result, the principles, the balance, the harmony, rhythm, unity, and beauty in a design. And now this started making more sense. And so I took it to the class and people loved it. This is for the first time. I mean, there were people sitting in the audience who were taking art classes and they said, we'd never thought about it in this way, but it just makes so much more sense now. And it's like approaching art from kind of a scientific way, right? And to give you an example, you can take a line and you can change the direction of the line to create movement in your design or to create stability in your design. You can take a form and use texture, for example, to make it more interesting. You can take a shape and use scale to create a sense of balance in your design. And so this suddenly made it so much, it was easy to teach people. And I know at the end of the class, my students were saying that it suddenly made sense. And now they are not afraid to sit and create their own designs. So they were able to, people who were terrified of drawing an amoeba in their biology class were at the end of this 2-hour class, they actually sit down and create their own designs just using this. So that was great. So that was part of my next journey. And then many, many years ago, eons ago, oh my God, I'm 60 years old now. This was 1981, 82 sometime. We had that summer vacation and, what do you do? And I'm looking at this candle, and India was never a candle country way back then. Candles were just those white, long candles. Whenever we went to Bombay's Mount Mary, we picked a candle, we lighted, we put it there and prayed to God and hoped that our prayers got answered. And the only other time we used candles was, oh, the light's gone off. Okay, look for a candle because we need some light. Very unimaginative, just those plain, drab, unimaginative candles. I'm like, this doesn't look good. Let's just make our own candles with different shapes and sizes, maybe decorate them, put some beads and whatever. And so I went to a friend's place, and together we sat down, we melted some wax, and we created something. And we were yelled at because the utensil we used, we never knew that once you use something for candle making, you can never use the utensils for anything else. But that was the start. But India is not a candle country, so I veered off into other things. I used to doodle with henna on terracotta, on glass, on, here's an example of henna on glass and other things. And then I came to this country, and one day, this was way back, 2001 or so, I happened to doodle on a candle with some leftover henna, and then I just left it on one side, forgot all about it. And a very dear friend, Mela Daniel, she happened to visit. And Mela has an eye for things, She saw the candle and was like, oh my God, Ravie, this is so good. It was a really badly made candle, but she was fascinated with it. The idea, I think, was more fascinating to her than the actual design. So she says, you need to do more on this. And so that was the start of a journey. See, we never plan things, I mean, we do plan a lot of things, but the universe has a way of sending us in a totally different direction. If I didn't need money for my education, I would never have been a henna artist today. But for Mela, I would never have ventured into candles. But then I started, after Mela encouraged me. And Mela has been such a huge influence in my life in so many ways. It's such a blessing to have had her. My daughter and I both, we're just so blessed. So I started working on the candles. I started experimenting different waxes and different things. How do you seal this? All that kind of stuff. And then there were people who got those candles and they would say, we don't want to light them. We don't want to burn them. But then a candle is not a candle until you actually light it. So I started putting, keeping a space right at the top, and we put a glass tea holder and glass tea holder and a tea light in there, so people can actually have their candle and light it too. And so this is a small little candle, and here's the tea light, and here's the glass tea holder. So you can see there's actually a space there to put the glass tea holder. And then this light, and you can light it, you can keep changing the tea light. The candle that you see on the screen, this is how it looks, yeah. And this is a little video, a time lapse again, so it will go quick, of how the design is applied on the candle. That's it. In a few seconds, a candle is done. No, I'm kidding. It takes a lot longer. A candle is a very slippery surface. It's also curved, so it's very easy to lose perspective. So it takes a lot longer to do the design on a candle versus on a hand. And then somewhere along the line, there was a bridal show in a boat. It was a big boat, 3 tiers in San Francisco. So they were having a Indian bridal show there. And they called me and they commissioned me to make candles with wedding themes. So here's 2 candles with the wedding theme. And so many brides come and see this candle and they say, could you make another one and just kind of reverse the role? Because for 5,000 years, we've been touching their feet and it's high time they start doing the same. Here's the groom putting the red vermilion and the parting of the bride's hands. So that's Mela. Somewhere along the line, I got a call from an ad agency. They were doing an ad for Intel and they wanted a henna hand. And so here's the, so I never worked for Intel, but Intel did use my work. This was the ad we did. It was very interesting. We spent a whole day, 8-9 hours for this one shot, and they took thousands of pictures and then they picked one. So the whole team of about 30-35 people working on this one shot. Imagine the budget people have for this. And then there was a magazine who called and said, oh, could you do these designs on the floor as a floral decoration? And I'm like, sure. So it took 4 hours. Rangoli is, it's called different, it's called by different names in different parts of the country. In the South, I think it's called kolam. And in other parts, it's called mandna or rangoli, different names, but it's the same thing, floral decoration. So I was called to do the floral decoration. Here's a 45-second time lapse of the rangoli. This is using rice powder. In other parts, they use sand to make the floral decoration. Okay. So different experiences throughout these 38 years, meeting so many different people, got a chance to do henna at the Asian Art Museum. I got a chance to sell my henna candles at the San Jose Art Museum. And so many stories and anecdotes. And I'd like to share one. I was working on a bride doing her henna. And usually I'm lost in my own thoughts. I'm not paying attention to what's going on around me most of the time. But I suddenly noticed halfway through her design, I noticed that she and the groom were arguing. They were getting married in 2 days. And they were arguing. And then I started paying attention to the argument and I realized that they've just broke off the marriage. I'm halfway through her henna. I don't know whether I should continue or stop. And I just waited to see what was happening, but then they called it off. So I finished the henna, and I don't know why the bride allowed me to finish it. But then I asked the bride and her mother, could I talk to the groom for a few minutes alone? And I think they were very desperate at that point, and they said, okay, go ahead. And I went and spoke to him for about 15 minutes. I was able to convince him. He comes out and he says, we're going to go ahead with this wedding. We'll get married. and nothing can stop us. So it was later that the mother called me and said, but for you, this marriage was not going to happen. So I ran into them a couple of months back. And they got married about 8-9 years ago. I ran into them and they were remembering that. This is, we have 2 lovely children, we're happily married, and God knows what would have happened that day if you had not been there. So so many stories. You could actually write a book on all the people you've met and all. But coming back to the paisley, it has always played a very central role in whatever I did. I mean, mehndi or candles or whatever else I did. And I know now that why that shape was so fascinating for me. Look at the paisley. I mean, look at how it's straight like this, but the head is very gracefully bent. It's almost like you stand tall and erect, but your head is kind of, bent in humility and just looking out like this, like a coy bride or something. And that's why I call it the humble paisley. So it's very confident. It knows what it is. It knows, it's just very confident about itself, but at the same time, it's very, very humble. And that's what it's teaching us. That's how we need to be in life. And also the other thing I feel about the paisley is that you just draw one paisley and it's a complete design in itself. You don't really need anything else to support it. It's beautiful in its own form. It's very simple, and yet it's complete and beautiful. And that's how we should be in our life. We need to keep our life simple, our thoughts simple and high, but just be your truest, purest, most authentic self. And those are the lessons I think the paisley teaches us. And with that, Shireen, I give it back to you. I'll stop sharing.
Shireen, you're muted.
I want to say thank you for the beautiful sharings that you gave us, Ravie. And I'd also like to say that I come from Sri Lanka, and the shape of Sri Lanka is an inverted paisley.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and in Sinhala, the term for mango is amba. So it's very close to amba in Hindi.
Yeah.
Ravie, I took Sri Lanka, and the shape, the paisley shape is used in our various art forms, even in print designs on clothing materials, as well as in the carvings. So I guess it is spread right through Southeast India or Southeast Asia. Yeah.
I tend to believe that our story, that it really originated from India and then spread to the rest of the world, is actually the true story, because we see the paisley shape in all of the ancient artwork from India and from that subcontinent, actually.
True. Have you had any allergic reactions to your clients when you do these? Have you been faced with any? No.
38 years of doing so. As long as you stay with good quality henna, safe henna, without any kind of additives to it, you're mixing it with lemon juice and pure essential oils. Nobody ever has had an allergic reaction. I know clients who have used chemical mehndi, chemical henna, and had allergic reactions. So they were very apprehensive about getting henna from me. So we just did a test, a little dot on them just to see how they would fare, and they were fine. And so then you realize, they also realize that the henna we use has to be pure and safe. Never buy henna from the shops outside. Henna's, when you mix the paste loses its potency, its ability to stain in a couple of days. So you can only use it for that short window. After that, it cannot stain anything. And the cones we see out in the shops, they've been sitting there for months. God knows for how long. There's no way they can stain naturally. So they always have something added to them just to give the color. And what is added is questionable. We know people who have had permanent scarring from life from those chemicals. We know people who have gone into coma and even died from those comas. And so stay away from all of that. If you get your henna, get it from an artist who mixes it herself. And so she knows exactly what went in. Or my very good friend can teach you everything and anything and everything you want to know about mixing the henna, where to get it from, how to mix it, how to make the cones and stuff like that. Would you like the name of my friend,
Sure.
Mr. Google?
Mr. Google.
Yeah, very good friend. Just
Okay.
give
Yeah.
him my reference and you'll get all the information.
Thank you. Thank you. Uh,
Shireen, I wanted to share with you how Ravi became such a fixture at the Asian Art Museum. You know, when I first met, I had actually researched many henna artists and we were not happy. And then I met Ravi. And when I told her it was for India's 50th anniversary, she was so gracious. She said, you know, I'm not going to charge you for this. I said, no, 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 we have a budget. So she would come every weekend almost, and she would do this henna, and the lines would wind around. And even after the museum closed, people would wait outside for her to finish the henna, you know? And there was such a great demand for her work. And Ravi, I don't know if you remember, one time we had a Jade Circle event, and we had the president of a bank, and you know, normally men don't come and ask for henna to be done, but I remember he came and he asked me very quietly, can you think I can get a little henna done on my hand? I'll never forget that.
Shailesh Mehta or something, right?
Stylish Mehta, yes. And I used to tease him and say, you know, you can go down to the Tenderloin now and get a lot more accounts with the henna on your hand. Yeah, but there was such a great demand for your henna. And then even when we had fundraisers for Narika, Ravi would offer her time to do henna, and you know, she would do it free for us, and then we would charge people who did the henna just a couple of dollars to add to the, you know, money raised, and always so supportive and so patient. Oh my God, so patient. It was a real joy.
Anyone can do henna. Just it doesn't require a special skill. It's just
Ravi,
muscle
nobody
memory.
has your.
No, you are just saying that,
Yes.
Ravi.
You're so
Coolly.
I
humble.
know.
I know. As humble as a paisley.
Absolutely. I just
Nobody I've seen has your skill. Honestly.
absolutely.
No, seriously. People, you just have to sit through my 2-hour class and I'll teach you how it is done. And then you go home and you practice and you'll
No.
be really good at it. I promise.
I am coming to San Francisco just for this.
And bring Mela with you, please.
Mela, I'll have to hop into New York and pick her up, you know. Really, shameless woman.
It's
Mela.
totally worth it.
Oh.
Oh, God.
But
And you,
but the truth is, like, tomorrow, you know, tomorrow Onam is starting and we have the flower carpet. I just put the flower carpet. I'm tense to just put 3 circles of flowers tomorrow morning. I'm already, my brain is overworked, you know, and you are in 40 seconds, you are doing
Yes.
these
The
things.
time left.
So
Yes.
fascinated.
Amazing.
Okay, Ravi, what I
Ravie.
would like to say is that you are not just fantastic henna artist. The way you narrated the whole journey, it was humorous. It was so interesting. You know, you made us see the whole henna procedure in a different perspective. You know,
so
since I
true.
attended this, now my whole approach toward henna has changed. You understand? You made it so funny. You made us look into things which we otherwise wouldn't have seen. Somebody coming and drawing something on your hand and you go home, right? And the color
Yeah,
will come.
absolutely,
But
absolutely.
you made us see so many things. This, we call it she. You know, Kannada, we write that letter she, like that ambe, okay? Sir, okay? There's such a common pattern, but you made it look, and you got meaning to, gave meaning to that shape, and Now see how beautifully things were narrated to us. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And Shireen, thanks for asking me to join this session.
You're
Thanks
welcome,
a lot.
Gayatri. You're welcome. I want to say the paisley has always been fascinating to me, Gayatri, as well. To me, I don't know, there has been a sense of femininity, fluidity. It's such a marvelous design, right? Isn't
It's
it?
beautiful. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think if you
And
want
what's
to
the
see
letter
those,
you refer to? The sure? Is it the
Sure,
sure,
sure. In Kannada, like
Gayatri?
I'm from Karnataka. The
Yeah,
letter sure in
yeah,
Kannada
yeah.
is something like that. Okay,
Uh,
in the lipi. So
okay,
usually
yeah.
I refer that as sure. Okay, sure. Even saris, when I go, I tell I want that shape in my blouse piece or in the sari. It's
exactly,
a
yeah.
common in even in our Kanjivaram sari. That shape is very
Yeah,
common.
yeah.
Yeah, it is there in the clothing.
Because we have two shurs in Sinhala. It's obvious, it's borrowed from probably the Italian languages. So I like to know
Yeah.
once you can maybe send me what your shirt looks like. We have two
It,
shirts in Sinhala.
yeah. Gayatri, you're right. There's nothing like a old Kanjivaram sari with the
Yeah,
bamboo
Yes,
design.
those
It's
waves. Yeah,
And
yeah.
the pallu along the edge. Oh my God, it's classic.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I have one conjurer with big, only one that shape, that amba shape, only
yeah.
one design. Whole pallu has. It looks so beautiful.
If I may ask you, Ravi, is there a particular symbol that you would begin a bridal henna with? A dot, or is there anything auspicious that you start a bridal henna session for the bride?
No, not really, because India is an amalgam, I think, of so many different cultures and ethnicities, actually, I should say. And everybody has a very different custom, like even if the dot on the forehead, for example, there are people who do it and there are people who don't. There are people who use a red dot and there are people who use a black dot. And everybody, the meaning for it is different. And I know that there are some cultures where you just cannot have a black dot. It has to be any color, preferably red, but never black. And so it's very difficult to do something and that might offend someone. And usually, Mehndi ceremonies are always preceded by some or the other kind of religious ceremony. And so I leave it to them to do whatever. And then I just go and do my henna.
Ravi, you're very
Ravi, I have one
talented,
more
and
question.
I just wanted to say that introducing us to henna this way, your presentation was, something that made us understand all the aspects of it, not just being an art form. It is also a cultural thing, it's a traditional thing. And like Gayatri said, it's all in the storytelling. So it could have just been a presentation, but you told it so evocatively. There was a story in it at the end, which was worthy of a Hindi movie. And my little one here, she's been enjoying henna. Her name's Anika. She's been
Hi,
enjoying putting
Aniku.
henna from the time she was about 3 years old.
Oh, yes.
So she's come here to sit in and say hi, and she loves it. She loves henna. She's been putting designs from when you were really tiny, right? Yeah, she just loves it.
And she's quite a little
Yeah.
artist herself, right, Minu?
Yeah,
Hi,
yeah.
Aniku.
She uses a brown sketch pen because I won't let her put her hands on a henna packet.
Well, now you know we're not buying the henna cones, ready-made henna cones from the
Yeah,
market.
yeah. But yeah, if you could share I know there's Google, but there's always a Ravie Kattaura way to do it. So if you could share that screen later with us, and then, we could take it and start making it ourselves. I'm sure she'll be very happy. She wanted to start a henna shop once upon a time and charge how much? Oh, she's so embarrassed.
I don't remember.
Oh, it does make money. It pays for my mortgage. So yes, it can certainly be done. I think there's Shireen is recording this and that she would be sharing it, Shireen, with people.
Yes,
So
yes.
we'll
Rekha
have
shares it, and I upload it. It's on our YouTube channel.
Okay, but feel free and reach out, send me a message or an email, and I would be very happy to share it with everybody. In fact, many of the henna artists here, when they were new, they had no idea how to go about it. And I struggled too when I first started doing henna, and the mindset of the people here was that you know, it's like, I don't know how to say it in English, but it was like, Bartan wali aa gayi, jhadu wali aa gayi, mehndi wali aa gayi, you know. So that's where we were. Like, mehndi artists were like the lowest strata of society, kind of. That mentality was there. So it took a lot of struggle training people to look at it differently and value it and actually pay for it. I mean, I was doing it because I needed money to pay my tuition and for my books. So I needed the money. And I used to have people tell me, oh, at Hanuman Mandir in Delhi, they do it for 5 rupees. This is 30 years ago. They do it for 5 rupees. So we'll give you, so you do a full hand and we'll give you 50 cents. So I said, okay, why don't you take me to Hanuman Mandir and I'll do it free for you? Because then I'll get a free trip to India, right? So, you know, those things, like I had to actually sit and work with people. So I made mistakes, I fell, I stumbled, and then I brushed the dust off and then moved on. But I learned so much, and I didn't have any source where I could learn or train. So it's totally self-taught. I would have loved to take classes, but nothing was available. And in this country, everybody would frown down upon henna. Oh, you have a disease on your hand. You know, that was the attitude. And so when the new artists came in, they had no idea what to do. And I would see them doing really good patterns and charging ridiculously low, rates. So I would encourage them, like, these are the mistakes I have made. You don't make those mistakes. This is what I charge. You should come close to it. And this is how you change your design so you can charge as much. And they were very afraid. And I remember this artist I met, and she was charging $40 per hour. And I said, you can charge at least 75. And she says, nobody will give me that much, you know, for my work. So I said, okay, let me work on that. So I got a client, and somehow, I mean, I'm very fortunate that I met people who were, I got a lot of love and affection from my clients. A respect also from them. And there were times when they would just blind, you know, they would say, we trust you blindly, and whatever you say, that is it. Don't even ask us. You decide what needs to be done. You decide how many hours you need to be here. You decide how many artists. You arrange for the artists. We'll just write you the check at the end of it. You don't need to explain anything to them. So I'm really grateful that the universe actually, you know, put me in that place. And so I was able to talk to clients and say, hey, you need a second henna artist. I have this artist and her rates are $75 an hour. And they would say, okay, Ravie, fine. But I knew that she was worth it, you know, because I'd seen her work. And so I called her and I said, hey, I have an order for you at 75. She was very surprised. She came, she did her work, got her $75, very happy. That confidence came in her. And then today they are charging $120 an hour. But because I always believe that if we hold hands, no one will be left behind. And if we share, then everybody will be happy, you know? So all of the henna artists in this area, because that's how we did, you know, we just held hands and we worked together. I can have a booth at a bridal show, and I can put my competitor artist and my booth and go away to do something else. She's at my booth, she's my competitor, but she'll be passing my cards and talking about my work. That is the kind of group we have here. And that is because you care for each other, you help each other, and you form that family. And then family always cares for each other. So that is there. I don't know where we started and where we ended, but I totally forgot.
No, that's Ravie. That's because you're so inclusive, and your generosity, you know, spirit of generosity, that's passed on to others, and I think you've made that bond possible. You know.
It's
Hi,
mutual.
Leila.
It has to be from both sides. It can't be like they say, you to clap, you need both hands, but to slap, you just need one. So,
I've been sitting here
Actually, yeah, people are.
Hi,
Thank you
Leila.
so much again, Ravie. Thank you.
fascinating.
I have to leave now, but it was awesome, and I look forward to going it over again on YouTube.
thank you.
Appreciate. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Ravie, I have just one question to you. just since you're putting henna all the time, will your hands be always stained? You have that problem, or you henna artist?
I always get
Yeah.
caught red
Yeah, this is
fingers,
okay.
and I'll tell you something funny.
Mm,
As a child, I loved getting henna done, you know, the red on the palms and the fingertips and all that. And today I can't have henna on my hands. So these are like, you know, what occupational comes with the territory kind of. But you'll never see me having elaborate patterns here. And then when we teach at conferences, uh, all day there are classes. In the evening, the students get to come and paint the teachers. And I always just offer them my legs. I'm like, paint there, not on my hands. I have a salon legs. It's not right. Yeah.
okay.
It's funny, right? I'm a henna artist and I spread the word, but I cannot have henna on my own hands.
And
So
I
if I had
also feel
messaged you,
you're so secured about your work that you're sharing all your information and helping others. Most of the people are not so. You
Exactly.
know, they are
I
not.
know.
Yeah. So
But
God bless you.
knowledge shared only grows. It doesn't. And I got a great group of friends here who will we we um we may you know we may what should I say? You'll never hear any of us in our group putting each other down behind our backs. So you gain so much. You just shared a little bit, but you gained so much. Was it worth it? Oh yes, absolutely.
Ravi, I don't know if you can hear me.
I can.
Oh, hi. I've been sitting very quietly and listening to all this. And, you know, from somebody who can't draw a straight line, I think your designs, your art is absolutely fabulous.
Well, thank you.
It
Thank you.
was a lovely session. Hi, everyone.
hi, Leila.
Hi, Laila.
Hi,
Hello.
Sheila. That Sheila's my sister-in-law.
Hi, Sheila.
Hi.
I'm so glad you joined, Sheila. Sheila
And
Sheila is an artist too.
oh, okay.
Not a henna
Now you
artist,
tell
but
me, Mela, now you tell me.
she does a lot of charcoal drawings, and she's just a good artist.
Ravi,
I knew she would love this, Ravi. Yeah.
Ravi, have you come across this book called The Henna Artist?
So many people talked about it. I've not read it. Even yesterday, when I was doing henna at a Sangeet party, somebody mentioned it to him. Have you read the book? You should read the book. So maybe one day I will. I heard it's a wonderful book.
It's very enjoyable. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions?
Thanks for agreeing to do this, Ravi. It's very special.
Mela, you started it all.
Oh, no, I didn't. You
Back in
But
the days.
really hats off to you, Mela, for thinking of bringing in Ravi, because it has widened our perspective so much, you know. I mean, the art and the intricacy of it, and
Yeah.
you know, the things that it teaches us, like humility, grace, and you know, all those things that are so important, right?
Yeah.
Really, life has to be lived out that way.
Yeah, it's for Ravi, it's the true art of henna is like, I'm totally amazed, Rekha, right through the years when I was at the museum of what she brought with this talent. Oh,
Well,
unbelievable.
truly.
You know, God is the ultimate creator, and we are made in his image. And so a part of that creativity is in each of us. Well, what he has done is distributed it. So somebody gets one part, another person gets another part. And all we need to do is find it and express it, you know, and that is up to us. But nobody on earth, nobody, and that includes animals and birds. Have you seen birds making nests? Who taught them? They don't have an engineering degree. We have that creativity in all of us. We just have to find it and find the time and express it. Some of us get better opportunities to do that. Some of us don't, but that doesn't make anyone any less creative than the other. You know?
Yeah, in some way or the other, I guess, right? I mean, we have that this thing, and what makes life kind of bearable or livable is the beauty that we surround it with, right?
That's true.
It changes, it reshapes us, it redefines us, having that beauty around. I mean, nature, the curios that we collect, the art that we have around us, that is what makes us who we are at the end of it, right? So with that intricate art, you have influenced us to become more beautiful from inside, I feel, and that's what is important. Thank you so much.
And also, I would add about the comfort in continuing customs and legacies.
Yes,
And
the
this is
legacy,
something,
right?
yes, because this is something really deeply embedded in culture and a shared set of values among people.
Yeah.
So particularly a wedding would bring two families together, a festival brings in so many people. So bringing this sense of color into it and reinforcing it, because this is nothing, you're continuing what's already been there in another country. That's tremendous.
Absolutely.
The ability to move, otherwise what happens is we just move on in a nuclear way. I'm
Yes.
myself, you're yourself, but you're bringing communities together, and that's a huge blessing.
True.
It's such a huge blessing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And we hope to have Sheila's painting sometime, Mela, without filters. Maybe even if you don't want to speak, give us an exhibition.
Yeah, yes, I know.
An online exhibition.
That would be
Sheila,
interesting.
you're
You have
muted.
to,
You're muted.
yeah, unmute yourself.
Sheila, unmute.
Yeah. You can hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. So what I said is, I said I'm a good listener.
We
So
all are.
I took all, yeah, and I think she's just brought this art into another world, which I don't think Henna was exposed in the way she has done. She's taken it to the next level.
Absolutely.
So that is
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Yeah. Shall we wind up, Shireen?
Yeah.
Yes, please, Rekha, would you mind?
Okay, I am. Okay, thank you, Ravie, so much. You have enriched our lives. I mean, like Gayatri said, I will never, like kind of not pay attention to a henna artist and who's sitting and doing there, because after learning so much about it, we just take it for granted that somebody can produce that beauty in such a short time. And thank you for that insight, and then adding beauty to our lives today. Thank you so much. We hope that you will come back again, and we'll have another session with you. Maybe teach us to draw. That's what
Now
it is.
101, right?
Yes. So thank you so much, and do
Thank
join
you.
in for our other meetings in Without Filters whenever you feel like that. When you have the time, and when you feel the topic interests you. But it's such a pleasure knowing you. And I don't know, Mela, I never thought I'll end up thanking you so publicly, It goes against my grain, Mela.
Yeah, I have to explain to you why Rekha said that. Rekha
Yeah.
and I have a relationship where
We are like family friends. I mean, through family, we are friends, right?
Oh, wow.
And my
Sheila,
favorite hobby is...
Rekha is Sudha's first cousin.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hi.
Hi. So my favorite hobby is to rag Mela all the time. That's my,
I'm like a lamb to the slaughter.
she walks in. She's my willing victim,
She's too strong for me sometimes.
But Mela, we need to hear your story. That's the story we are waiting
my
for.
I have
story.
asked on that so many times,
I
Rekha.
am like, yeah.
I don't have stories like,
No, no, no,
He's an
no. You
artist
do.
Actually,
herself.
I think my life is enriched by knowing people like all of you, and that's my story.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us that. At least say
Yeah.
some few good things about me in a public platform.
Now, maybe that'll be a real stretch for me, Rekha, so I'm going to say no.
I know. I'm coming just to take revenge for that.
Oh God.
But it's so lovely to see all of you, and we will meet again for the next session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Laila,
you.
our call tomorrow, okay?
Lovely. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Shireen,
Bye.
are we
Bye.
having Corinne on?
Yes, next month.
Okay.
Ah.
Oh,
That's another friend of Mela's.
oh,
Laila's.
she's
And that's
fabulous,
another
fabulous,
fantastic
fabulous.
work that she does. I'll get
Awesome.
her into that work that Corinne does. It's just amazing.
Okay.
I'm
Thank
stopping
you
the
all.
recording.
Great. So great.
Bye.
Thanks, Shireen, for organizing.
Welcome.
Rekha,
Thank you, Mela,
thanks.
for everything.